Argos TV, November 24th. I just want to say, happy birthday, Mom. Yes, it's my mom's birthday. Janice is back home in Montana, and I get to talk about Montana in a little bit. But first, I want to introduce a clip from something called Post-it, a film web series that a group of filmmakers here in Boise, along with Jeston and I, have put our brains together and helped build an idea that I wrote with my husband Cody, and giving everybody a little bit of that creative juices to go on with it. So sit back, watch Post-it, and followed by a collection of clips that Jeston put together that we've worked on in the last year. So I'll see you soon.
Pardon me and my tone. You can't step to my throne. They ain't working like me. I did this on my own. You asking where we been, huh? I don't know where to begin, huh? All this dirt on my skin. I just came here to win. I'm more than a man, I'm a monster. Somebody call a pastor, doctor. I got a 6th sense for imposters, so now I'm coming for the whole roster. It's not a game, why you playing with me? You could double back, lose track, try and hang with me. It must be in my veins, something you can't tame, cause I break the chains. Can't control me. I got the power, I got the keys, cause I break the chains. They try to hold me, I'ma push back. Just wait and you'll see. Please excuse me, your honor, but you can't hold me no longer. Can't you feel the vibrations? I broke out and left traces. Go ahead, try to catch me if you can, man. You'll be looking all night, I'm a Sandman. New York, London to Japan. I'ma show the whole world who I am. Boom.
Wow, that was a lot of content. Great job, Justin. We have had a blast. I know the pandemic kept us here in the studio quite a bit, kind of made us rethink things and try new things and be a little bold. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. A few months ago, actually almost a year ago, I was on the set learning a new skill, audio, for my friend Katie's project, Running on Love, which I can't wait for it to come out. It should be soon, and hopefully we'll get to talk to her here on Argos TV when it does come out so that you can hear more about it. But what happened on that set was really inspirational. Her and Heather Horner and myself ended up having a conversation along with Ellen Smith, who also has relatives in Montana. So Heather, Ellen, and myself all have roots in Montana. And we kind of jokingly started talking about, what if we did a show called Two Montana Girls and told people about growing up in Montana and shared our favorite places? Well, that was about April. And in the fashion of Argos TV, that let's just do it attitude, I went to Montana and spent a week in my hometown, Great Falls, and started producing an idea. This idea took off. Once one person liked it, they told another person and another person. I started getting phone calls. And in my hometown, I was able to produce a few episodes of this series. So I brought Heather in and I said, hey, let's do this. And she worked on another half of it. And in the fashion of collaboration, especially in something that had such a short time frame, we didn't exactly know which direction we were going. So we brought Katie Preston in to record us figuring it out. And what happened was magical. Not only did we get to go into local Montana businesses, some ran by friends of ours, some we just found by inspirations from books, by the authors that inspired us that are Montana-based. One of those authors was Paul, who wrote a book called Make Mine a Ditch. And the drink is whiskey and the old wives' tale of ditch water, because it's an Old West thing. But it led us to places like Norm's Soda Fountain in Kalispell that had the bar back from way back. And at that time we got to go in and I got to meet Heather's family. I also got to meet Heather's in-laws when we were in Townsend. And when we got to Great Falls, she got to meet my mother and my father. Now, one of the conversations we ended up having was, Heather says to me, if we go to Great Falls, can we be mermaids? We got to be mermaids. And the only way you get to see what it was like for us to learn how to swim like a mermaid at the Sip and Dip Lounge in Great Falls, Montana, is to go and watch us on that episode. Now, I'm not going to reveal everything on this conversation because I would like Heather to be here with me. And we also have to do some communication and figure out some more of what we're going to do. I have my own ideas. She has her own ideas. The whole spirit of creating cool things together is learning how to communicate. So I would like to talk for a few more minutes, but I think I would like to share one special clip. It's raw, but it's beautiful. And it's when Heather and her mom are walking through her mom's property and talking about a story unique to their family. So enjoy this little clip from Two Montana Girls.
I don't know, it's just a very special spot. The whole meadow is, the Burton Meadow is special to me. It's been special to me since I was about 5 years old. Oh, my great-grandmother homesteaded over the hill. There's this 40 acres and then 40 acres and another 20 go in that direction. They had a garden over there. It's on somebody else's property now, but there was a garden and it was irrigated by the springs that go through there.
Oh.
Be careful of the ant pile.
Oh, yep.
And this is where the old cabin, of course, it is. Okay, and so this was Charlie Burton's cabin, and he lived here until he ended up going to prison. And he went to prison because some fellow kept coming and leaving his old nag horses and taking Charlie's good ones. That's what we called him. I don't think that was his real name, but Mr. Burton got angry and found out who it was and followed him in the snow and shot him. And he did get out of prison. He didn't die there. But in the meantime, I think my granddad had purchased the property.
I see green. I mean, that's okay, right? It's all around me. I'm just observing the world that's around me. It's okay. Don't judge it. Don't judge. Don't judge.
This one's pretty easy because it's just grays and then some of these brown tones. I'm like notorious for bringing way more than I need. I started painting just from like riding on skate spots and stuff. I was gonna roll out just the background and cleaned up a little bit. It's like an old box truck that this guy John owns. I used to go to Boise High and walk past this garage all the time. And he's been letting us paint on it for like 10 years. Like,
can you paint that hole in the tire for me?
Yeah, I got you. I'll just fix it up real quick. Yeah, it's gonna be tight. So I like adding a couple of little elements in there that are like really subtle. Finding imagery that I like and putting it together in a meaningful way and just painting for myself. It's nice to just be able to get out and do something solely of your own volition.
I like that. That was damn good.
You're 21, right?
What? Oh, yeah. Just graduated.
Wait, what? Just graduated?
What?
You just said you just graduated.
Oh, hold on. Sorry, I'm getting a call. Yeah, hey, I'm just at JD's getting beer. I know, I can't believe I'm finally 21. I'll call you back.
Let me see your ID. You're 32. Chip. Receipt?
Nah. The beard's fake.
Just go.
Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed those great clips. I know I'm excited to see what's in store for Two Montana Girls in the new year. There's going to be a lot going on Argos TV around Two Montana Girls, so stay tuned. I came on today to talk a little bit about the chocolate course that we teamed up with Chocolates by Josh to produce. So last year, a decade ago, Josh Parker came on to My Idaho Friends with Jaime Lima and talked about his business, Chocolates by Josh. He makes delicious chocolate from small farmers that he confirms don't use any sort of illegal labor practices. He makes sure that he builds these really great partnerships and builds these and manufactures these beautiful chocolate bars. And he wanted to figure out a way to bring chocolate making to more homes. And so he reached out to us to figure out how we can do some online learning. And that got my brain spinning in terms of how we could be a really good partner to him and bring a unique, high quality product to all of you. So over the last 6 months or so, we've been developing a chocolate course with him that teaches you how to make chocolate in your own home with only one special piece of equipment. The rest is things that you can find, in your bathroom actually, with a hairdryer. So on one kind of rainy day in May, actually, we used my kitchen at home and shot this beautiful course. And part of my idea was, how can we take the beauty of something like Masterclass, which I don't know if you've watched any of the videos from Masterclass, but they make these gorgeous online courses that feature people like Neil Gaiman, Annie Leibovitz, and a huge, I think I butchered that name, and a huge number of really amazing creators, as well as chefs, as well as just people who are very skilled at their craft. So I was thinking, how can we take the beautiful cinema equipment that we have that you're viewing me through right now and develop courses with smaller creators, people like Josh who create a wonderful product and have this knowledge on how to make their product and want to share it with the world. So do me a favor and go to intro2chocolatemaking.com and check out that course. It's been a passion project of mine and a pleasure to work on, and I'm just so proud of it. So we have a really great end of the year coming, starting next week on December 1st, and then again on the 15th to wrap out the year on Argos TV. And I just want to thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the night with Beewise Garden and My Idaho Friends, and we'll see you next week.
Hey there, it's Isabel.
Gabrielle.
With Beewise Gardens, and today we are going to be doing a little creative project with wreaths and dried flowers and dried seed heads of all sorts. Because Beewise Gardens is this ever-growing, ever-changing thing. We have our own garden, which we gathered all this from. And one of the really important things to us is that we leave up all these seed heads, and we have these things to not only study and recognize what they look like in all 4 seasons that we have here in Boise, but also have them for habitat, have them for birds, and overwintering lizards and bees and
solitary bees.
Yep, all sorts of kinds of bees, and any kind of caterpillars or butterflies or anything that is
even snails.
And snails, yes.
You know, people don't like
snails and slugs. And what are you finding here?
Well, like for instance, when you cut down things that have hollow stems, a lot of times solitary bees have found an opening into this,
or they've
kind
cut
of thing,
an opening into it,
or they've chewed a hole into it, and they've actually laid all their larvae in a hollow stem. And so we really try to encourage people and educate people to leave stuff up until spring when new growth starts. then that's when you clean up your yard. And
because solitary bees and any kind of mason bee or whatever will leave once the temperatures start to rise. The egg will have hatched, will have went through its pupa stage, or its larval stage, and then its pupa, and then its adult, and will have left in that time of like.
Well, and actually, bees form completely.
Yeah,
within
within the thing, but they do turn into. You know more than that.
Yeah,
about,
not really. They
don't turn into larvae or anything?
No, they actually form completely from their egg.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and so they don't go through like a larva where they're eating and then they have to pupate. They just literally form.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool process. You can watch on YouTube if you're ever interested in the formation of a bee, and it's remarkable. It's more like a baby. Like how babies form, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, it always looks like a bee and then it just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Thank you.
Yes.
I learned something today. Very cool.
But yeah, this stuff is really important to us, and that's what our plant society is about, and that's what our gardening business is about education and really trying to help people understand the world they live in and why it's important to have a very diverse, biodiverse landscape, a biodiverse neighborhood, a biodiverse city, and that just helps all of us because then you have really healthy soil.
Yes.
Which is definitely a passion of mine.
Yeah, and we love learning more about all of this and then also sharing that information. So that's what we're doing on like our Instagram at Beewise Gardens and doing in the Beewise Plant Society. Right. We also just created a gift card page on our website at Beewise Gardens for classes or any kind of consultation that you might need if you just need an online hour where you have plant questions or something.
Or you know somebody who's really into plants and they're kind of stumped and don't have anywhere to go. We're more of like an experience gift.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So you want to start?
Yeah.
Do centerpiece first.
We have this lovely vessel here that's like a low dish that we will use. We've already kind of placed in some dried leafy things like this eucalyptus and these junipers and I'm gonna have to remember the arborvitae. No, this is the we've got juniper.
This is a western female. I don't know.
I'm gonna have to remember
it's
blanking my face.
And you have like the cinnamon bark.
Cedar.
Yeah,
that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, they're cedars. Yeah, this is a western cedar.
And yeah, we have what we've done here so that these things kind of have a structure to stay in is, and besides the more that you add, the tighter it will get and the better they'll stay in. But in the beginning, what we'll do is just put a few strips of tape in one this like way and a couple this way in a grid. Exactly. And just kind of go from there and be creative, have different lengths of
things.
Like
you can see right here, the tape is coming over the edge, but once it's completely full, you don't see the tape anymore. And the reason we're not taking this out is because it's frozen. And so we're like, hey, you know what? We're just going to work with it because I set it outside last night and it froze. So we're just going to add to it.
That's one thing that if you do have the ability to put your evergreen arrangements outside, they'll last a lot longer. This is all dried stuff. None of this is fresh other than the other evergreens. So we don't have a lot to worry about as far as wilting goes, but they will last a lot longer if they're outside.
We did have in this, so this is just kind of a standard like centerpiece on your dining table or your island. And because there is water in here, you could poke flowers in there, and when those flowers wilt, you pull those out, and it's still pretty. And then you can poke new flowers in there, and this will last all season long. You know, it does get a little bit crunchier, and this is like crunchy, but it still looks beautiful.
Yeah, and it is just a creative process and something that's just that you get to play off for your own aesthetic value or own aesthetic goals.
Right.
But yeah, we're gonna be putting more dried flowers in it, more seed heads and things. What do you think we should start with?
This one's yours. You go for it.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, I really like these. These are chive flowers, and they actually have pretty much opened up.
That one's a garlic.
This one's a garlic chive. The seed head's a little bit bigger than I guess like a regular chive. There's lots of different chive varieties that you can plant in your own yard. That is a perennial or perennial allium. And we can actually even use it all the way into, as long as it doesn't freeze super hard, usually we can keep cutting the greens all the way into just like late December. Yes, or everything, just everything. So good. So these guys, you can let go to seed. They do seed in the garden and kind of take over. So that's one
But they're
thing.
cute, so I don't mind them at this point. 4 years in.
They're cute.
They're cute.
They are harmless and cute. So what I'm going to do is just kind of decide how short I want these guys. I'll probably have them come to about the same level as all this evergreen foliage first, and then maybe add a few taller ones later. So I'll just cut that in half with a pair of bypass pruners and stick these guys.
And this really is from our yard. And so, or if you had a neighbor that they don't mind if you took a few sprigs of something. This was probably just 2 branches that then we cut apart and made into this type of thing. And the thing that's cool about winter foliage is it does change color. So this is like, this is a creeping
juniper.
Yeah, it doesn't get berries, but it turns this kind of cool purple lavender mixed with the blue, which is really cool. And then this is the cinnamon bark cedar, right? No, it's not cinnamon. Why do I want to keep calling it that? It's
incense cedar.
Incense cedar.
That's
and it gets these gold tips on it, which is really cool. And it smells really good.
That is one thing I really
exactly. And this is a different kind of cedar with a really red bark, which I really like, which we're going to do something different with. So.
And I think I'm going to go for an odd number of these guys so that it doesn't look too patterned. So I have 6, so I need 1 more.
Okay.
And I'm going to use this bigger one and kind of stagger them.
And I like these because they kind of look like fireworks, and I don't know, they're very festive to me, or sparklers.
They're kind of festive. And this is all, dried stuff. You could go to the store and go find your own, or something. If you didn't have access to any dried stuff, you could go to the store. You could go to a floral shop. They probably have stuff. You could even go on a walk and in the foothills or something and take a few seed heads.
Yes.
Some people might be against that, but don't tell anyone I said that. Yes, do that one. I like that one. So this is a, what is this? Oh my gosh, thank you. It is a sedum, and it's called sedum or stone crop. This one's
called Autumn Joy.
It blooms in the fall.
Bees love this stuff.
Yes.
The more you can plant of these, the better, because they just cover it, and it's a late blooming flower, which we don't have a ton of late blooming, like prolific flowers.
Not in traditional landscapes.
Yeah,
for sure.
and so these are amazing because in the period of time when they really need to start getting ready for winter and that kind of thing, the flowers on any sedum are really, and they're just full of nectar, which is what they're going for. So they're
and then you can leave them up all winter,
right?
And have this orangey sort of bronze color in your yard before, and they have really nice structure because this is pretty much the whole. It's kind of just a little dome shape. Of seed heads
and it usually has that really succulent kind of base.
Yeah,
it looks like it's already coming back.
It looks very sort of tropical, but also desert succulent flowers. They are drought tolerant, which is awesome. So they don't need a lot of, but they need a lot of light. They don't need a lot of water once they're established, but they need a lot of light.
So what else do you think? Do you have those snowberries? You were gonna put this in the wreath. You don't have any of this blue. Do you want the blue?
The blue, yes, please.
Front gloves, that one's pokey. I'm sensitive.
I might just like shove the whole thing in here.
Think so?
Maybe I'll take some of these little ones off. And these guys, you can actually go the extra mile. They will probably crunch in like, I don't know, 2 weeks or so. They'll get crunchy, or
but they'll look the same.
They'll
as long
look
as you're
the
not
same. What
touching
you
them.
can do to make them last even longer with any kind of woody shrub that you take, if you want it to last longer and fresh.
And this is for lilacs, hydrangea.
Yeah, especially the spring flowers that wilt really fast.
But also with greenery.
You just want to take scissors or something and kind of cut up the end of a cut, make a fresh cut, and then
kind of
slice it and open it, and that will help it absorb water. It just has a larger surface area
and that's why they suggest to you when you get a new Christmas tree that you drill holes up into it,
or you
and
cut it
and leave it in a bucket of water overnight before you take it in the house. Is because it'll just draw up as much water as possible, and then it lasts longer.
Yeah. I also talked about last week spraying with a water bottle
Yeah, misting stuff.
Yeah, misting the evergreen stuff, and that can help. That would also be the same for this.
I think you should put some of those snowberries in there.
Yeah, I like snowberries. Snowberries are an Idaho native.
And they
These
also come in
ones-
pink, which is beautyberry.
Yeah, the pink ones are really pretty. It's not beautyberry, it's what is the name? If you looked up pink snowberry, you could find it. But beautyberries are those ones that are really bright purple.
Oh.
That's like that shrubby.
Or like porcelain.
I'm gonna have to remember. I know it has a specific name because it was bred to be pink, but these guys are just a normal native.
Yeah.
Berry, good for birds.
Yep.
Good for foraging. We have a
Yeah.
giant hedge of them.
Yeah, we just leave those up too, and they just kind of slowly eat them.
Yeah, and I think I want some of these to be like cascading down the sides. So I think something like a lot of different texture. Any kind of arrangement that you make, the more texture you add, the more interesting it'll look. And
Yeah, absolutely.
the more like different heights and different shapes and whatnot. That one's way too long. So got
That looks awesome.
a few of those, but yeah, I like.
But now you can see where you really could grab a single bunch. If you wanted some red in this, you could get a bunch of roses or some kind of like Gerbera daisy or even like hollyberry.
Hollyberries are hanging on to their shrubs right now, and they're really beautiful.
Yeah.
Also, what's that other one? Katani asters.
Yeah. Yeah,
Katani
that's true.
asters are really beautiful berries.
Or the berries on mountain ash, like the orange ones.
Yes.
You know, like you can literally get
Those
a branch.
are really pretty.
And they're very beautiful too.
So be friends with your neighbors and ask them for things.
There's that one. Cool. Now.
And I'm probably just going to keep going with that until, I don't know, just keep poking things in until
Right.
I like it.
So now here's a traditional wreath that you can just get at any store. Just an evergreen wreath that somebody already made. It has a structure on the back.
Yeah, or you can buy this structure.
You
alone
can,
and
but for
wind
like
up your own.
time
Yeah.
and finding materials, these are really inexpensive. And then you've just cut out probably like 4 hours worth of your effort and time, maybe driving around looking for the bottoms of Christmas trees and whatever. And I think you can get these for maybe $10. Where they're just plain and ready to go.
The North End Organic Nursery has ones right now that for every wreath, they donate like $5 to the City of Good.
Oh yeah.
Right now for
Cool.
wreaths. And some of them are plain, some of them are decorated
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So you could look for stuff like that too that's local. And
So this could be a wreath that you hung up and you put a bunch of stuff in it. It can also be a centerpiece
yeah.
that you can put, not necessarily this, but if you have this in a pretty pot, this
Or we
could
could
go
cover it, kind
this
of.
could go into the center of it.
It'd be a fancy
And
little
then
thing.
you could build around it. You could put like Christmas ornaments around it or like sprigs of things, and it's a really beautiful
Centerpiece.
like centerpiece for
Yeah.
sure, or like on a piano or something. Or a big candle. You could even put you could put a hurricane candle in the middle of
A
this.
hurricane candle? What's that?
The big ones, like a hurricane
Oh.
lantern and then the big candles.
Yes. Okay. Like if you were in a hurricane.
If you were in a hurricane, exactly.
Well, hopefully
Okay.
that doesn't happen anytime
So
soon.
we talked about using these, which these are
Oakley
ruby slippers.
hydrangea.
Yeah,
Yes.
ruby slippers.
So pretty.
And so they're super pretty. They're pink. They start out white. They go all the way to a pink shade, and then they turn this beautiful
Yes.
bronze in the fall and through the winter. Again, if you just leave them
Yeah,
up.
just leave them up and they look really beautiful. They actually keep their shape really well, even with snow and storms and
Unlike
everything.
regular hydrangeas that go full on, like
Yeah.
kind of crunchy brown,
They do, yeah, for sure.
unless you preserve them.
What are we doing with this? Are we just
I don't know. I
sticking
was
them in
thinking.
how we want to,
I
or-
don't know. You could do something where you did
Like a
it
cluster
like
of them?
all the way around. I tend to like little like clusters of things and
Asymmetry.
asymmetry. I am a asymmetrical person, only because I used to be overly symmetrical and it got a little, but it became a problem. So now I force myself to be asymmetrical. So what else do you want to do? You got those.
Pythons.
You got those grasses.
You want these, right?
Ooh, yeah, that's. So these are the seed heads from zinnia and also from rudbeckia. And so this was the bigger ones. Like this was a no petal rudbeckia, right?
Yeah. I cannot remember what the name of it, but it's like chartreuse and
Yeah, it's really
doesn't
cool.
have any petals. It's a very interesting looking Rebecca.
Yeah.
Or they're also known as black-eyed Susans.
This isn't, that one though is that green one with no petals though. So it's not a black-eyed Susan, is it?
Rebecca's are.
all Rebeckias are Black-Eyed Susans or all Black-Eyed Susans are Rebeckias?
All Black-Eyed Susans are Rebeckias.
That's an IQ. That's an IQ question.
So anyway, I mean, go on a walk. You could find these in your own yard probably, or this is just an assignment to go plant some cool ornamental grasses or something to be able to have the persistent bloom heads.
That's true.
This one is a miscanthus. Is this the zebra one?
It's the zebra miscanthus.
The zebra is something zebra
So you need
stripes.
one right here. Like a little short one.
This one. And this already has the wire rack, so since all of this is really lightweight, we don't actually have to
like glue it in or wire it in.
or wire any of this in.
But
If
you
it was
can
heavier-
get really lightweight wire
Yes.
and some tiny little wire cutters.
And
if
you
you
will
had to
want to,
wire,
yeah.
like say you wanted to wire a bunch of stuff together, you'd wire that together and then you could poke it in. And then that makes that so that things don't fall out.
Exactly.
So there's that cool seed head.
This is a Penston?
It is from something.
The purple one.
No,
Or
it
the
was
red
that,
one.
It was that red one, but it wasn't.
It's a Penston.
I don't know.
This is a seed
Oh
head
yeah,
of the Penston.
it's the towering midnight towers or whatever.
Oh, okay, cool. Can I just put them in like
I think
full?
so.
Kind of making little swoops.
So obviously,
patterns.
this is not necessarily everybody's thing to have like the dried flowers. Some people really want the full-on holiday red and green, but I love this. I think it looks. It's especially because it's from our yard, you know.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
then
what I like about it. So we have
just
one
have
last
fun with
one
it.
that's going to be fast, and it's kind of a trend right now, which I don't normally do, but this one really stuck out to me. So it's one branch with a long piece of ribbon tied at one end.
In a knot or a bow or...
Yeah, exactly. And, or if you're going to cover it, it doesn't matter. And then the other one at the other end.
Goes up like that.
Is that it? And then it hangs like this from your nail. And then so if you want to hook that on that side, I have these little vintage like pins that are from the 50s. But you could do this again, where you did something like that.
Was that okay?
And it's just so cute and it's simple.
And really
literally
simple.
that literally just
And
took what,
just kind of
15
elegant.
seconds?
It's just
And
kind of
it's elegant, yeah. And
But,
that's your
with our little 50s kitsch.
Yeah.
This is like the 50s
right.
whatever corsage.
So we hope you enjoyed that. We hope we inspired you a little bit. It was a little bit of a stream of consciousness, creative craft for us. But we really enjoy this, and we just want to help people live greener, simpler, more balanced, and have a lot of well-being in their lives.
Yeah.
And we believe that plants bring well-being. And when you feel successful in your yard or with your houseplants, then you just feel a little bit more successful yourself. And if you know you're contributing back to the soil and the earth and the pollinators, I think that's the most important thing of all.
Definitely.
Because then you're just kind of nicer to people too. So we thank you, and if you ever have any questions, send us an email, beewisegardens@icloud.com, or check out our website, beewisegardens.com.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, bye.
And welcome to another episode of My Idaho Friends. I am your host, Jaime Lima, and today we have a good one. I always say that. But today I really mean it. It's always good, but today is really, really, really good. As always, before we start getting into it, shout out and big thanks to Argos Productions, Erica. Jeston's not here, but much love to him and the rest of the crew that is out back. If you need to get in touch with some professionals to do all sorts of stuff for you, content for your business, film, anything that has to do in the arts, and you need videographers, you need photography, you need all these type of things, go ahead and click on the link if this happens to be seen on YouTube, which will happen a little bit later, and check out their website, check out their portfolio. They're really, really awesome. So that's Argos Productions. And now, without further ado, my friend Caitlin, founder of Fullswing PR, and I think also founder of, you have several other things, but there's one that is significant, Women in Power.
No, but that's what I'm all about. So you're on the right track. So the other one, I'm a co-founder of Electable, which is an online community that helps women run, win, and lead in public office at the local level, particularly in smaller towns.
I knew that.
Yeah.
But I didn't say it like
You're
that.
not really our target audience.
Hey, but I know about things about my friends.
But I support it. You can make donations. You can volunteer.
See, I like
For
it.
women candidates, there's many things you can do.
Cheers to that, to ladies in power, especially in the great state of Idaho. Which, you know, sometimes I say great and some people laugh.
Yeah.
I like it, but, you know, it's got its things.
It's got some really beautiful places.
Absolutely.
And some really beautiful people.
Very natural, beautiful people, beautiful families, and let's just leave it at that. You know, and then we're drinking a little bit of drunken bean today. It's really, really good. It's really, really, really cool.
Yeah. You know, I'm from Nampa, just like this whiskey.
Ooh.
2C.
You know,
I use the hashtag proud to be 2C on Twitter sometimes, and people are like, really? But
So Centerfire Distillery, last season, they were over here and they couldn't really talk about this. So they're super stoked that it's out and about. So shout out to Centerfire Distillery, and you guys made a great product. So way to go. Now, Caitlin.
Jaime.
So usually what we do is, you know, we talk we talk a little bit about, you know, how we got to where we're at today. So, and I keep it really simple, right? Like Matt for Marines is like 10 years in the past, and then where we're at right now, and then like, hey, 10 years into the future. But those are very loosey-goosey, you know, guidelines. We can do whatever we want.
Cool.
However, not everybody, you know, has the privilege to know you as I do. Know that we're besties,
From the parking lot of Puentes.
Yeah, exactly.
To that German deli. To this
Please
moment.
stop. We're not BFFs, but we know each other.
We have mutual BFFs.
Yeah, that is true. We have a number of them. Yeah, where were you 10 years ago? What was Caitlin up to?
Goodness, let's see. What year was that?
So it's 2021.
11.
So yeah.
So I was running for city council.
What?
Yeah, in Missoula, Montana.
What?
Yeah. I feel like COVID makes time weird.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just weird in general to be like, once you pass 35, it gets way harder to keep track. Or maybe it's like having children.
Having
it's like
children,
harder
I
to
think,
keep
is
track.
really the thing, because a combination of like time was just being really fast forward as soon as we started having children. But then COVID happened, and the last 2 years have been the longest decade that I've been a part of. So I guess I should have asked you, what were you up to 20 years ago? And that would have put you in 2011.
Your hair still looks really good, though. I feel like you have not gone gray at all.
I have two.
You have two? Did you pull them?
No, I don't pull them. I am willing them to grow longer and stronger. So
to make you look more distinguished.
No, it's just because everybody looks at Madeline, and then there's the whole joke, like, oh, Jaime is responsible for all of those, right? And I love, you know, she has this natural look where she refuses to color her hair, right?
Yeah.
Like, not that there's anything wrong if you want to, you do what you want to do, but she leaves it natural, and there's a lot of gray. That's not a secret.
Yeah.
And then they're like, ha ha ha. You didn't look like that when you married Jaime. And I'm like, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
Go suck up, drummer.
Yes.
Anyways,
but 10 years ago, I was knocking a lot of doors in Missoula, Montana.
Wow.
Trying to unseat an anti-gay incumbent, which I did successfully. I'd never run for office before. I raised $12,000, which was a lot for a Missoula City Council race. And actually, I mean, Boise City Council races are a lot now, but in most towns in Idaho, that's still like a pretty hefty campaign budget for a local race. But I did it, and it was awesome. It was a wild ride, and you know, I feel like there's so few chances to like actually go knock doors and meet your neighbors. That's one of the things I love about volunteering for campaigns now, and certainly about my own race. It was really a cool way to get to know what people think about, you know, and what they care about.
Man, so clearly I understand the reason why you did it, and thank you. You know, even though I didn't live in that city, I think, you know, more people need to be involved when they're like, oh, yeah, fuck that. We need to fix this. Because that's fucked up.
Yeah.
So you get elected, but prior to getting elected, so what was your strategy for that? And because it's going to tie to what you do now, right?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I would love to have a little bit of a snapshot of what that was like back then when you didn't have, you know, what I will call like all the resources and the network that you have now here.
Definitely. So I moved to Missoula for graduate school in 2005. I did my undergraduate at the College of Idaho, go Yotes. and then lived in Sun Valley for a year, and then went up to Missoula and was like, what is this magical place called Montana, and why did my parents never bring me here as a child? Because it's really so close, but it is hard to get to. It's like a solid, 7.5 hour drive on good roads to get to Missoula. But I really just fell in love with it, and I feel like that's the town where I really kind of like became me and became an adult. And I always kind of had an interesting relationship with my home state of Idaho and my hometown of Nampa in the 2C. So it was great. I got really into lots of community organizations there. My first kind of big kid job out of grad school was working for the YWCA, which is a domestic violence shelter. And yeah, basically never had big ambitions to run for office, but definitely was motivated by issues and cared about democracy. And then when it became clear that nobody was going to run against this woman who had voted against Missoula's non-discrimination ordinance that was the first in the state in 2010 to include lesbian, gay, bisexual, and trans folks from being denied housing, being denied jobs, or other public accommodations just because of who we are or who we love, that wasn't okay with me, so I decided to take her out, and I did.
Boom.
Boom.
I love it.
Yeah, and she lost every race since, so that was good. She did try again.
Oh, really? Wow, she didn't learn, huh?
Cheers.
Cheers to that. It takes a few tries. This is really easy. Oh, no.
It goes down easy.
I will do my best not to pour again.
It's almost Friday.
It's not Friday?
After 5.
No, it is Thursday today.
In Central Time.
I like it. I'm going to go with that. So that's really cool. Then what brought you back to Idaho? What brought you back to Boise?
Yeah, so little Tolly, my son, was in my belly, and I had very involved grandparents in my life, and it was important to me to make sure he had the same experience. Also, like, Boise had a lot more economic opportunity. I'd always kind of been able to figure it out in Missoula, but Missoula is not getting any cheaper, and neither is Boise. But at the time, Boise was, a more affordable place to live.
You got here like kind of almost in that cusp of the craziness.
And I just felt like, as somebody who's, very driven in terms of my career, and at that point I hadn't started my business yet, but just having the grandma's support was very helpful.
Yeah, it's huge.
And still is. So,
no, yeah, absolutely.
It takes a village.
Yeah, I was partially, well, I say partially, but really, like, mostly raised by my grandparents.
Yeah.
My mom, let's see the picture of my mom's a lovely woman. She's a first-class type lady. Hi, Mom. But
does she watch every episode?
She really does not. Someday she will, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what my mother does sometimes. The YouTubes, as she calls them. But there's a plural there somehow. But no, yeah, I think that's really cool, because not only do you get an appreciation of having that, older generation, like they get to do it better or quote unquote right, because they can always give the grandchildren back, right?
Yeah, so, and they don't have all the stress that you have when you're trying to like build a career and
exactly
buy a house and like
so
do all the
it was
things.
Such a great experience to have them, so close, to me growing up, and, my childhood. And I always knew that I wanted the same thing for my kids, and I scored the lottery with my in-laws.
Yeah.
So they are fantastic. So we always knew we were going to come back here. Not that this is about me. I just say that to relate, because I totally get it.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a huge advantage to have, not only access to like high quality childcare, because we need that too, but also, having the grandmas take 2 days a week is like a huge, economic boon too, because it's expensive.
Yeah. Daycare ain't cheap, yo.
Yeah, no.
A lot of people are
Which is why the state of Idaho should invest in public pre-K. But
I love how that slid.
The personal is political, Jaime.
That just slid into our DMs. And we can do that for as long as we're here. I'm perfectly okay with that. Well done. Well played. I am going to most definitely have to pour more. God darn it. I don't know why I'm trying not to curse when I know you're perfectly fine with me cursing.
Yeah, I didn't know what the rules were for
Have you noticed?
show exactly.
No, there's a lot of F-bombs being tried. I'm trying to classy it up, I guess, but I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I'm a little rusty.
Be yourself.
I need to be myself. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, back to today now. So, little Tally's here. You moved back in order to be closer to family, start a new career, opportunity. Back then was I mean, I'm willing to say not a little bit, but significantly more affordable. You know.
Yes, this is 2016.
Yeah, because I got here. Yeah, I got here right before you did. You know, so we'd be kind of back in Boise right about the same timeline. Now where we're at. What are we up to? What are we doing? Tell us about your
leaves
thing.
on the West End.
Oh, okay.
Life is good. Yeah, I started Fullswing PR in 2019 in February, which is just, you know, in hindsight, wow, I had no idea what the world was doing at that time.
Right.
But it's actually, you know, we are fortunate in that the business has not been hugely impacted in a negative way by the pandemic. If anything, I think it's probably been positively impacted, and not just because of PPP. But thanks for that too. Yeah. You know, I think it's important to remember that, like, when I started Fullswing PR, we intended to be an all remote agency and to create the kind of culture that was really friendly for working families and working parents. And that was partly why I didn't care about having an office. And I also didn't necessarily want to be tied to Idaho and Idaho's business community. We work nationally. And, you know, if somebody in Idaho really wants us and wants me and knows what I'm about, then by all means, perhaps we'll take them as a client. However, I think our target audience, because we're such a values-based business and really care about advancing women in power, we're not always a fit for Idaho. So, and that's okay.
What?
Yeah.
It is okay, but it isn't. But yeah.
Yeah, so I have a team of 6 now, and it's myself and a part-time person in Boise. Everybody else is Seattle, New York, and Philadelphia. So, yeah.
Nice. And are we going to be continuing to grow? Like, what's the scale?
Yeah, I think that it's important to grow to be the right size for whatever your business is.
And that's where I was getting.
I don't think growth for the sake of growth is my jam, but I think, like, you have to build a certain amount of, like, wealth within the business, one, if you ever want to sell it, and 2, just so you can make the impact you want to have, and also, like, take your time and your life back because you've taken this risk to, like, launch this venture.
Right.
So, you know.
Because you do very impactful work.
Yeah.
It's very important to you. But, you know, there's also the business aspect of it. So, you know, some people, you know, have this whole growth, scale, sell.
I mean, we're not like a venture-backed startup. Like, that's not what we're trying to do. Like, you know, we've been profitable the entire time, thankfully, but, like, also the risk has been, you know, on my shoulders. And then I brought in Holly Conti as a business partner in, I guess officially in May, but essentially January when we became an S-Corp. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, and she's a digital marketing guru, and we were like work wives back in Boise. We worked at the same agency, and now she's back in New York to be closer to her family because she's got a 2-year-old. So.
Oh, really? Yeah, I didn't know she moved.
Yeah, she moved.
All right. Hi, Holly.
She's probably watching.
Oh, okay. I guess we'll find out. We'll find out. She'll let you know how not funny I am. But okay, so while you've been here, and I know, you know, how do I phrase it? You know, like, not necessarily because I want to know, you know, what is it that you are, like, very proud of as far as, like, you know, those impact type projects, which is all of them really, you know, when it comes to what you do and your agency does. But if there's any one or two that you might want to highlight that you are, like, super pumped and proud of. Yeah,
well, Boise had never had a female mayor that was elected until Lauren McLean. Now Mayor Lauren McLean. And I was able to lead her communications during the runoff election, which was really heated, as you may recall, in December 2019. So that was a big sprint and really fun. And it's hard to stay. I mean, I've worked at a public affairs firm, and I've had politics be, like, my main jam, and I was a city council person. But I also really value that my whole, you know, ability to, like, eat and pay my mortgage does not rest on politics alone. I like to take it, but on my terms as it comes, you know.
Got it.
So
cool. And then what about outside of Idaho? What
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Let's see. We haven't done as much political stuff outside of Idaho, like I have personally, but not really so much through Fullswing. But we've worked with some really incredible women leaders. The author of Grieving While Black, whose name is Brescia Wade. She was a really great person to work with and remains a good friend. I got to bring her and her wife to Montana this summer while I was there. That's pretty cool. And we also worked with an executive coach who trains a large number of kind of up-and-comers at Google, especially trying to fill Google's internal pipeline with more BIPOC and LGBTQ leaders. And this particular coach is like one of the first kind of out trans women in her industry, and had worked like in automobile manufacturing and everything at a time when like nobody was talking about these issues. So working with her was super rewarding and interesting as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's.
But we do actually quite a bit of work in healthcare, in part because I just have quite a lot of experience in healthcare.
Okay.
And you know, it's been a very trying time, as you know, from your own family,
What?
for healthcare workers. But that's also it's been rewarding to play a small role in supporting those folks and telling those stories during the pandemic.
And that has been where exactly?
Mostly the Mountain West region, so Montana, Alaska, Idaho, and northern Idaho as well, and Spokane.
Oh, cool. Whew. Wow. So you're busy.
Yeah, it's good though. I feel like it's working. It really helps to have a team. I feel like so many women that I talk to are like, how do you start a business? Like, how do you know that it's the right time? And it's kind of like having a kid. Like, there's never the right time. Like, you just got to decide to do it and go all in. Like, I certainly never took a business class in college. I was editing the school newspaper at the time. But yes, it was not, you know, I think I was probably a person who was sort of even skeptical of like corporate America and business, you know, in my youth. But I really believe in what is possible when you get wealth into the hands of different people, right? So BIPOC and LGBTQ people and women in general, but especially women of color, I think that we could solve a lot of the problems that are facing Idaho as well as our country if we changed who has the wealth. And we live in a capitalist system, which I really like, and so we might as well figure out how to use capitalism to our advantage and make capitalism work for us and work for more people.
Right. No. Yeah.
So.
No, I see you on that. There has always been and I'm not for one, but the counter argument is like, you know, you got to get rid of capitalism altogether. I just don't see that happening, you know, in our lifetime. So what's like the next best thing, right? It's
yeah,
just
make all the money and give it to all the best candidates.
Right, you know.
And get a seat at the table.
Yeah, and then there's, you know, there's that side of it, and then there's like also like the short term, you know, there's long term impact and the short term impact, you know.
Yeah.
So like, you know, being able to have those honest and transparent conversations with like, you know, like indigenous people, like, you know, here, right? Because we're sitting on their land and things along those lines.
Yeah.
And like, I'm very stoked and very proud, you know, of like how many like refugees are welcome into Boise, but it's still not perfect, and we do well, but we could still even do better. The ability to help, you know, the homeless population, and like, you know, having like the data, which like already explains and is like very transparent, and it's like, you know, the best way to get rid of homelessness is by having these people not be homeless. And, you know, not by having them like, you know, go to church or like, you know, commit to something like that.
Well, and it's like we pay for it one way or another. Do you want to pay for it with investing in prisons, or do you want to invest in public pre-K? Like,
right, exactly. You know, and like I think people that own prisons are already wealthy enough. So you know what? I'm good with it. You know, and then that dives into like modern day slave labor and all this other stuff that we don't have enough time to talk about, or maybe we do.
But even something like healthcare, you know, it was I think one of the scariest things about growing Fullswing to have 6 people and to offer benefits that I feel good about and be able to pay people a great wage is that, you know, how do you provide healthcare in this environment? Like, it would be so huge for small businesses like mine if there was a viable public option.
Yeah.
And it's just been kind of a nightmare to figure out a plan that works that's also affordable, you know?
So you mentioned something, right? So you were saying just a minute or two ago, you know, like when like somebody asks, you know, like how you start a business, you know, and it's like, so is that something that, you know, are you mentoring? I mean, because there's only so much time in the day for you, but like with Fullswing PR and Women in Power, which you co-founded, I'm assuming that there's like...
It's electable, but I love that you just changed the name.
Oh, I did?
Women in Power, LLC.
Why do I?
Maybe we need to change the name. It's
maybe not. Maybe I just messed it up.
It's very descriptive.
I just keep doing that on this show. But so yeah, so what does that look like for you? Like,
yeah, I mean, I definitely have. I mean, I am loath to turn down like, you know, a young up and coming person that like wants to have coffee and pick my brain, you know, and I always try to make time for that. It's just now it's like, okay, you might have to wait a month, but I'll get to it for sure. Okay. But my schedule is a little bit more packed these days than it once was. But I do think, like, I guest lectured at the College of Idaho for like a principles and marketing class to kind of tell those students about what a career in PR could look like, because I've kind of done a lot of different things before starting my own firm. And I think just having a pretty open door policy is a good thing. It's been somewhat weird with COVID in that I think there's less of that happening with folks in Boise per se, but I've done a couple of Zoom meetings with like Boise State students and that sort of thing. And then pre-pandemic, I started and ran a group called Boise Women Who Get Shit Done. And it was a lot of fun, but I just haven't brought it back because I just feel like there's something about meeting in person that is so powerful and really just expansive for folks. And I just, like, with the surging cases and the situation in the hospitals, it just hasn't felt like the smartest decision. And even with, you know, vaccines, it's like there's still breakthrough cases. And I know some people who've been sick for like several weeks with those. And so I think we'll just wait and figure it out. Yeah.
That's really cool.
But I hope we'll come back with that sometime.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because eventually that was going to start getting carved into the conversation. But you did it, so I didn't have to ask.
Yeah, and I started Get Shit Done in part because I wanted to make friends here. Because I had left. I'd been in Montana for 11 years, you know, and so my women friends were mostly there, and still, you know, to a large extent, I've kept up those relationships. But I also wanted to give women, professional women in Boise, whether they're in nonprofit or business or politics, like a space where we could kind of dismantle some of the good old boy stuff that goes on in this state and try to create a group that shared values and that was really committed to like lifting each other up and not sizing each other up, because that can be tough, I think, for straight women in business. So
true.
I've never understood the whole mean girl thing. I'm more like, I either want to be you or I want to date you.
Right. And there's
I just love you either way.
Yeah, either way, right?
But
you know, there was a small portion of time, you know, a couple of years in which I was able to sit with Go Lead Idaho, which is, you know, it's all
great stuff.
It's all, you know, group of women. I was very proud as the first and only male board member.
Oh, cool.
You know, so and I got to learn so much by just, you know, trying to contribute as best I could, but also kind of like staying in the background because my face is not the face. Yeah. You know, I'm just there to support. Yeah. But it was very interesting to me when I would run into, not within Go Lead Idaho, but outside and with similar groups that, you know, claim to have the very similar agenda, you know, and kind of like placing like, you know, like a highlight, you know, on local women, you know, trying to whether run for office or were trying to start their own business, or they were trying to navigate, you know, what it looks like as they're like leaving academia and like joining the workforce and trying to juggle, you know, life all together.
Definitely.
In a state in which we're ranked like, I think like third to last as far as equal pay. Yeah,
and it's going in the wrong direction, which you don't hear every day. It's like, what?
Right.
How is it going the wrong direction?
I know.
It's supposed to just get at least like incrementally better.
Yeah, not worse. I see we're so close down there at the bottom. But yeah, and things like that. So I was, it caught me definitely off guard when I would experience it. Because I didn't experience it, but you know, like not myself, but I would see it. Yeah. And I would kind of stand there in the background and like being very overprotective, I just kind of be like, the beer's over that way. So well, hopefully, you know, especially after experiencing the pandemic and a lot of people realizing how much more gets done if you work together, rather than to like trying to claim accolades and it's like, oh, me, and I did it. Hopefully there's less and less of that.
And it was fun too because like we never wanted to make it into like a nonprofit or any sort of anything more than like an email list, right? You know,
right.
That
It's just like
meets up and I'll buy the wine, and if somebody else wants to buy some appetizers, great. You know, and the Trailhead was very generous to like host us, and it was a great thing, and I hope it'll come back at some point.
Well, let me know if it does.
Yeah,
I want to hear about it.
You can be a guest speaker.
Oh, and talk about how I confuse names and say it all wrong.
Women in power.
So, what are we looking forward to into the future? What do we think? And it doesn't have to be goals. It doesn't have to be something that, you know, I mean, it could be something that, you know.
Well, one thing, it's like surprising because I never have considered myself to be somebody who's like motivated by money. I was always like more motivated by impact. And I think part of that is just how I was raised and how probably a lot of women are raised, where we are told these stories about money. Like, we're bad with money. We're, you know what I mean? Money is really hard to make. You have to work really hard and work, you know, 24/7 to make it. And you should probably like partner up with somebody who has money so that you both have money. You know, there's just like all these things that we hear about money. And I think the most empowering thing about starting a business that's been successful is like the ability to just like generate money and to like set a goal and hit it, and to like give people raises and give myself a raise and that sort of thing is just it's just like a lot of fun. And I think also once I heard the statistic that only 2% of women-owned businesses ever hit $1 million or more, I was like horrified. So I was like, well, that's what I'm doing. Even if I personally make less for a little bit, we're gonna hit $1 million. And so I think we will next year. So yeah. Yeah, so that'll be really exciting because 2% that's ridiculous. Yeah. And women start businesses at higher rates, and women of color especially start businesses at much higher rates than the population at large. Yeah. And so it's that scaling piece that really can be life-changing, not only for like you, the business owner, but also like the people that work with you. That, you know, if you can provide paid parental leave, which we do, of course, and you can provide great benefits and give people more responsibility and more opportunity. And
I love that
like,
you said.
Awesome.
I love that you said, of course. By the way.
Yeah, we don't have to. But 3 months is standard. Yeah, exactly. And I wouldn't do it any other way. I don't care how much it costs me because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's really messed up that more businesses don't do that.
No, they see it as a.
How was your break?
Oh, you're honestly asking me?
No, that's what I was asking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was just like, wait a second. Yeah. But yeah, exactly. And it's not. And that's the thing that drives me wild. You know, it's not a break. It's not something that it's like, oh, like I went home because I just gave birth. Yeah. So now, I'm going to be getting like 4 interrupted hours of sleep on a regular basis, and then I have to come back over here and make sure that that there's still money going into the books. It's wild. We just got back from visiting some friends in Germany and France, and my wife's best friend is a neuroscientist in Germany. Cool. That's where she had to learn German as she was doing her master's over there. Wow. Pretty intense, right?
She's a neuroscientist. So, she's probably pretty smart.
So she's so now she has been there 10 years, and her 2 beautiful little boys, Victor, who's 5, and then Valentine, who is 8 months old, and they get a full year. Yeah.
Paid for by the government, again, which is like take the pressure off of micro business owner Caitlin and help me out here and doing the right thing. Because to me, it's a collective good. We want people to have children.
Yeah, and it can be absolutely done. It's not like we have the money.
Totally.
We have the money for it.
Idaho has like a $900 million surplus right now, and we haven't even spent 1% of the stimulus funds yet. And so the federal government's going to take it back.
Yeah, it's completely insane.
Yeah. And then I got my $50 or $100 from the state of Idaho. I'm like, just please keep it and fix education.
Right. And then they come and they tell you, it's like, well, you don't want to be entitled. Yeah. I'm like, entitled? Yeah. So no, it comes back, to what you were saying. So thank you for doing it right, for your team, and hopefully it sets a good, awesome example and standard for everybody else. But coming back to what you were saying, there's the aspect of making money, but then there's also the aspect of the roles that we all play, right? And I'm not a woman. But I believe to some extent I understand, not necessarily the pressures, but I can see it. It was like, how are you going to be, as a business owner, affected by having a divorce? Totally. And how's that going to affect you, not only financially, but with your emotional capital if you happen to be a mother. Because chances are you're also going to be the one that is maintaining the household. You're also going to be the one that is making the meals. You're also going to be the one that knows whether little Freddie and little Johnny and little Lily, you know, like what they have going on all the way from
Yeah.
kindergarten all the way to 6th grade, and like all these other things, right? And now all of a sudden you're taking one teammate out of the equation, and depending on what level of participation said teammate had, you are kind of in a tough pickle, you know, like type situation. And having these conversations and listening to people say, well, like, I don't know that I want to have this lady on my staff. What if she gets married? Oh, I was like, fucking, then you say fucking congratulations, you dick. Or like, well, what if she gets pregnant? Well, I said, well, then you fucking ask her, like, you know, what does she need? Because she's pregnant, she's making love. And
also that's illegal. Like,
right, then there's that too.
But there's always a way. I mean, I feel like when it's normalized in the culture and people don't like speak up and say something when they hear that, it's like it's happening and it will continue to happen.
It is happening. Sorry, I got into a soapbox. So, our fearless producer just gave us our time mark, which is good because I was sorry.
Yeah, well, you were asking me about the future and what I'm looking forward to, so I guess I covered some of that because part of it is like tied up in making some bank, you know.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I feel like since I live in Idaho and I'm intending to live here at least until my child is grown up, I want to change the politics here. You know, I would like to see Idaho become a more purple state.
Okay.
So that's probably a 20-year goal in and of itself, but you never know. I mean,
I like that. I like your ambition. I was going to say it's kind of 35. I want things to come closer to the middle.
I don't know. It's so much healthier, and it was, you know, one of the things, like when I moved to Montana, people are like, oh, Idaho, Montana, they're all the same, but they're really not.
No.
And until recently, Montana was much different than Idaho politically, in part because they never had a right to work situation, so there's an actual labor movement there, which helped kind of balance things. And they truly were a purple state, which I think, you know, Democrats are not perfect, Republicans sure are not perfect, but like when we have two viable parties, I think we end up coming up with better policy choices that work for more people.
And I couldn't agree more.
So,
Kaylin.
Yes.
Tell the people who are watching at home or from their laptop or their cell phone how they can get a hold of you. They can get a hold of you, your business, anything you want to promote. If you got any shout outs, what do you got? That's your camera.
Womenwithpower.com. No, I should buy that domain and redirect it immediately. No, so my website is fullswingpr.com, and then my fun side hustle project, electablewomen.com, is the online community for women that want to run, win, and lead in local public office. We particularly focus on cities under 100,000 people, where it's kind of hard to like build your own team, and you know you're probably not going to raise that much money, that sort of thing. And then at Fullswing PR, we work with clients in 3 ways. We offer kind of the typical retainer agreements that most agencies offer, and those are really fun, and it allows us to make big change for clients over time. And then we also work with clients through our PR VIP days, which are an immersive kind of retreat style where we build your PR plan for the next 6 to 12 months and tell you exactly what you need to do to be successful and get into the publications that you want to get into, and how to do that with your existing team. And then the last way that we work with clients is through a small group coaching program called Work Hard Once. It's 16 weeks and helps women learn to launch their digital products with confidence and for a massive profit. Because it's so fun when you work with these business women who are like, maybe they hit like low 6 figures, you know, like I did my first year, and then they figure out, oh my gosh, I can take this transformative work that I'm doing one-on-one and scale it and inject like 50 grand in my business in a week just by launching effectively. And that's like amazing. I mean, that's the kind of money making that can allow you to hire a team or to outsource your laundry or, you know, to send your kid to private school or like buy your mom a house or whatever the thing is. And I think as women leaders, we tend to make choices that benefit the whole community when we have money.
I dig it.
Yeah.
Right on. That's awesome. And then again, Idaho, if you're watching, this eventually will be in YouTube for the posterities. Check out the link below. You'll have all the information right there that Kaylin was just spitting out for you. As always, thank you so very much to Erica, Jeston, who's not here. I'll get to thank you eventually. Okay. I will. But first, you know, Argos Productions, I definitely appreciate you guys for letting me use your space and being here and helping me with this project. Also, shout out to Jewel Case, my employer, because I'm supposed to be at work and instead I'm over here with my friend drinking whiskey and, you know, sharing stories and messing up names. It's what I do. So if you're interested in jewel case and clean, sustainable energy, we're a battery company. Check us out at www.jewelcase.com. Also, the link right here below. And if you're in there and there's anything you want to purchase, you can get 10% off by using the code JLPWR. That's Juliet, Lima, Papa, Whiskey Romeo. JLPWR. Don't forget it. Caitlin, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I could have done this for so much longer, but we
I know,
got
we buy fast.
children to get to, and
We do.
activities, and soccers, and all sorts of other
Yes.
stuff. I should probably get some more work done, but it'll be okay. Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
I really
thank you.
appreciate it because I know how busy you are and all the things you got going on. I'm wishing you the best of luck, and hopefully we can get you back on again some more
Thanks.
time.
Yeah.
And as always, Idaho, thank you for tuning in. When you get a chance, get out there, be kind to somebody. Cheers.